Okay, young scholars, for the next few days we're going to be learning about some of Africa's great Western empires, or kingdoms, called the Ghana, Mali, and Songhai empires. The time period we're talking about is around the year 500 to about 1600 CE, or AD. I'm really disappointed that we don't have more time to talk about and learn about these kingdoms this year. Just things got all screwed up with coronavirus. But we're going to try and download as much information about these African kingdoms and their importance to history in just a few short days. So just to give you a little bit of background about Africa before I explain to you what your assignment is going to be, this is one of my favorite maps of Africa. It's unique. You'll notice that it kind of looks like a puzzle. You have the outline of Africa, Africa's continent, right, including the island of Madagascar. But within it, you have all these other different countries that seem out of place here. You've got the USA in blue. You've got China broken up into two different parts here. India, Eastern Europe, Great Britain. Basically, this map is showing you just how massive the continent of Africa is. Geographically and like land-wise, you could fit all of these countries within Africa easily. Even Japan here at the bottom. That just shows you how massive the continent of Africa is. This should also trigger in your mind the fact that because Africa is such a large continent made up of many different countries, it's very diverse. It's diverse in terms of ethnicities and cultures and languages spoken. Even its geography is very diverse. So I wanted to show you just a few images of some places you might be able to visit or see in Africa. There are coastlines. You see some mountains there, cities. This is an image that a lot of people might think of when they think of Africa. They think of safaris, wild animals and savanna grasslands with mountains. Some people think of deserts, and that's definitely a part of African geography. We learned about ancient Egypt way at the beginning of the year, and we know that the Egyptian civilization, located in northern Africa, was built mainly in desert. That's going to be a theme that comes up with these African empires as well. But you might also see lush rainforests and waterfalls like Victoria Falls. All of these images you would see in Africa. So its geography is very diverse too. So just to clue you in about these three African empires we're going to dive into, this is where they're located in Africa, just so you can see. This little part of the map here shows you in red where exactly we're zooming in. So it's in the north and western part of Africa. And here we have their approximate locations. So you have the Ghana, Mali, and the Songhai. You do see some rivers flowing through these empires. You've got the Senegal River and the Niger River, which play really important roles in sustaining life. But also in this North African region, you would see a lot of this desert. Desert's going to play a huge role in the success or failure of these African kingdoms. So spoiler alert, they are successful. Part of the reason why they're successful in surviving in this kind of climate is that they use specific animals and they come up with adaptations that they're able to cross that vast desert. Part of your assignment, which we're going to go over in a second, is to watch a documentary that's going to walk you through quite a few different points about West African Empire's history. A big part of that is the trade in gold and salt. Actually makes those empires quite wealthy and quite powerful. So a little bit of economics you're going to see in that documentary. You'll also learn a little bit about some of the religion and the important people that existed in these empires and led these empires. The most famous being probably this man, Mansa Musa, was a famous leader of Mali, and he's known for spreading the religion of Islam all throughout northern Africa. You'll also see in the documentary some cultural things, like certain achievements that were made during this time period in the West African empires, and also some of the great cities that were built and became centers of knowledge, places where people would come to study and learn. Let's go over your assignment for Africa's Great Civilizations. You're actually going to get an option or a choice here. So let's go through the assignment that you'll see posted on Google Classroom. Here are your directions. You can either choose option A or B. You do not have to do both. You're only choosing one. So let's read through option A first. It says, after watching Africa's Great Civilizations, Episode 3, Empires of Gold, answer each of the following questions in a short paragraph. That would be 6 to 7 sentences. Using quotations or paraphrasing from that video is perfectly fine. However, the majority of your paragraphs must be in your own words. Plagiarism will receive grades of 0. Plagiarism is basically copying and pasting from another student or copying and pasting from the internet without giving credit as to where you got that information. The questions that it's talking about here are down here. You will type your answers to these 2 questions below after you watch the documentary. Or you could choose option B. You're still going to watch Africa's Great Civilizations. After watching Africa's Great Civilizations, Episode 3, Empires of Gold, participate in a class Socratic seminar via Zoom conference on Tuesday, June 2nd from 1 to 2 p.m. You should be prepared to discuss the questions listed below, as well as other topics covered in the episode. So again, if you choose option B, you do not have to answer these 2 questions by typing out answers in paragraphs. You could just come prepared to the Socratic seminar on this day, Tuesday, from 1 to 2, and be ready to talk about your answers. So you have an option here. You're either going to do A or B. A is you're actually typing out answers. That's perfectly fine if you choose to do that. If you choose option A, you are not required to participate in the Socratic seminar on Tuesday. If you choose option B, you are not required to type answers to these questions. Your job is just to scroll down to the bottom here where it says option B. If you choose option B, you're going to type your name in this box to signify that you understand you're not responsible for writing answers, but you do need to show up on time and participate in that Socratic seminar in order to get credit for the assignment. So on the attached document for this assignment, you're either going to choose option A and type your answers, or you're going to choose option B and type your name and submit that instead. So we know to expect you during that Socratic seminar. But it's really important that you put this on your calendar and be prepared to show up. You can't show up late. You can't show up at 1:10. We're starting at 1 p.m. promptly. And you need to make sure you actually participate, because if you don't, then you're going to need to complete option A instead. You're not going to receive credit, and you're going to have to do option A, where you type answers in order to pass the assignment. I do think it's important for you to look at the questions before you start watching the documentary episode. Kind of helps you think about what you might write or talk about as you're watching. So the first question is, describe some of the ways the African empires of Ghana and Mali influenced Europe during the Middle Ages. So this is a little bit of cultural diffusion here. In the documentary, they're going to focus mostly on the empires of Ghana and Mali. There are many connections between those empires and what's going on across the Mediterranean Sea in Europe. You'll describe some of the ways that those African empires influenced Europe. And then question 2, why do you think it is important for people to study African civilizations that existed hundreds of years ago? So this is an opinion question. You're going to think about all of the things that the documentary talks about, all of the achievements, and then you'll write down why you think it's important for people to study it today.